What should have been a night of pure celebration for the Indiana Fever turned into yet another controversial chapter in the WNBA. Instead of the headlines focusing on Lexi Hull's clutch steal, Aaliyah Boston's dominance, or Kelsey Mitchell's leadership, the spotlight shifted to something no one expected: a fiery stare-down between Sophie Cunningham, injured and in a bulky leg brace, and a league-hired security guard who treated her like a criminal. Cameras caught every second, social media exploded, and the conversation quickly went from basketball to double standards, favoritism, and the WNBA's ongoing struggle to protect its most marketable players. The Fever pulled off a playoff win that fans had been waiting years for. Even with Caitlin Clark sidelined and multiple rotation players missing, Indiana's resilience carried them through. The arena should have been buzzing about a team overcoming impossible odds. But instead, the celebration was hijacked by a confrontation that never should have happened. Sophie Cunningham, unable to play but there to support her teammates, suddenly became the center of attention for all the wrong reasons. As Sophie stood at midcourt, clearly injured and moving slowly in her brace, a security guard approached her with unnecessary hostility. The situation had no context, no scuffle, no rule violation, no danger. Yet Sophie was treated as if she had stormed the floor during a brawl. Fans and players alike were stunned. Why was a player in a brace being barked at during a celebratory moment? The optics were brutal, and the league had no good explanation. The cameras caught it perfectly. Sophie's face transitioned from confusion to irritation, and finally to the unmistakable glare that has defined her competitive persona. It wasn't loud, it wasn't violent, it was a look that screamed, "Really? This is what you're doing right now?" That image hit social media within minutes. Clips spread everywhere, and suddenly the biggest storyline of the Fever's win wasn't the scoreboard. It was Sophie Cunningham versus league security. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Fans across Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube blasted the confrontation as harassment, not enforcement. They weren't angry at Sophie for standing her ground. They were angry that she was even put in that position. Hashtags like #FreeSophie and WNBA Exposed began trending as thousands voiced frustration with how the league handled the moment. What should have been a proud playoff celebration instantly turned into a PR nightmare. For years, Sophie has been painted as the villain of the WNBA. She's unapologetic, outspoken, and refuses to shrink back just to fit into the league's polished image. That defiance has made her popular with fans, but it has also made her a target for critics, rivals, and now apparently even league staff. Instead of embracing her as a personality who fuels engagement, the WNBA continues to treat her like a problem. This incident was just the latest chapter in that storyline. Fans couldn't help but point out the hypocrisy. If Angel Reese or Paige Buckers had been in Sophie's position, the headlines would have praised their passion and loyalty to teammates. Instead, Sophie was treated as a threat while standing in a leg brace. The double standard was impossible to ignore, and it highlighted the selective narratives the league pushes. Fans were quick to call out that unfairness, fueling the backlash even further. The incident wasn't just about Sophie. It tied into a larger frustration fans have seen with Caitlin Clark's treatment on the court. For 2 seasons, Clark has been hacked, shoved, and targeted without consistent whistles. Meanwhile, players like Sophie have been marginalized and vilified. When fans step back, the pattern becomes clear. The WNBA struggles to embrace players who don't fit its preferred image, and instead of protecting them, it lets them be mistreated. After the game, Sophie handled the situation with the same poise that made fans rally behind her. She didn't explode in anger, didn't feed the controversy, and didn't hand the league any ammunition. Instead, she laughed it off, joked about sweating like she had played, and reminded everyone that the Fever weren't even supposed to be in this position. Her humor flipped the narrative. What was meant to embarrass her instead boosted her popularity. For the WNBA, this was a disaster in plain sight. A night that should have showcased the Fever's grit became another example of the league tripping over its own feet. Clips of Sophie's stare-down overshadowed highlights of Lexi Hull's defensive heroics and Aaliyah Boston's dominance. Fans who tuned in for basketball left talking about a mall cop harassing an injured player. That kind of distraction isn't just bad optics. It's bad business. The backlash hasn't slowed down. Every meme, every clip, every hashtag adds fuel to the fire. Sophie Cunningham's fan base has only grown. And she's now being framed as the underdog hero standing up to a league that doesn't know how to handle her. The irony, by trying to minimize her, the WNBA made her even bigger. Fans love authenticity, they love defiance. And Sophie gave them both in one viral moment. At the end of the day, Sophie Cunningham's stare down wasn't just about one confrontation. It became a symbol of everything fans feel is broken in the WNBA. Instead of highlighting resilience, teamwork, and victory, the league once again turned the spotlight onto unnecessary drama. But if there's one thing this incident proved, it's that fans know the truth. And they're not afraid to call it out. Sophie didn't move, she didn't back down, and now she's become the face of a movement that's bigger than just basketball. Sophie's never been a blank slate. She's outspoken, unapologetic, and allergic to playing it safe. That edge built a following, but it also painted a target. Rival fans boo louder, media scrutiny lingers longer, and now even staff seem to approach with assumptions. Ironically, the qualities that make her a draw become the pretext for treating her like a disruption. The league should be converting that fire into engagement. Instead, it keeps trying to douse it. And every attempt backfires. Viewers called out how similar moments get framed differently, depending on the player. Passion versus provocation. Leadership versus attitude. When Sophie stands with teammates in a brace, she's a problem. When others do it, it's competitive spirit. That inconsistency is the kind of thing fans never forget, because it's the kind of thing they can replay in receipts. And those receipts were piling up next to another name that keeps surfacing. Zoom out, and the frustration overlaps with what fans see around Caitlin Clark. Hard contact swallowed, taunts ignored, narratives curated. The league says it wants growth. The audience is saying, then protect and elevate your draws. In doing so, she took control of the story the league couldn't. The crowd online noticed and rallied, which left one entity holding the bag. No rant, no meltdown, just humor, composure, and a reminder. The Fever were never supposed to be here, and that chip isn't going anywhere. She joked about sweating through the stress, made it clear the win fuels the locker room, and refused to hand the league a single combustible quote. The question is no longer whether Sophie was singled out. It's whether the WNBA can survive its own double standards. Drop your opinion in the comments, because this story has only just begun.